Association Monster Truck and Mud Racing Spectacular continues. We are in the super modified mud racing category. From Cochranville, Pennsylvania, this is Charlie Stolpus, the 27-year-old, doing the driving of this 1967 Ford Bronco. The Red Rebel machine with the stars and bars over the roll cage. As you can see, a 466 cubic inch Ford wedge motor, fuel injected, no nitrous oxide in this machine, and interestingly enough, an automatic transmission. This category, the Super Modified Division, is unique in the sense that there is a limit only on tire size. Anything else goes. Vehicle weight, vehicle length, the size of engine as far as cubic inch displacement is concerned, any modifications to those power plant. The only major rule, other than, of course, the stringent safety regulations from the U.S.HRA Association, is the fact that these machines must use Department of Transportation approved street legal tires no taller than 44 inches. Now, the drivers can alter the tread on these tires. You can see, in fact, that Stolpus in the Red Rebel machine has altered the tread on these groundhog tires substantially. As a matter of fact, that's a lot of the personality in this category, is the different tread patterns. Stolpus leaves the starting line. He's got a good run going, bouncing off the right-hand side, as the driver would see it, berm, as they say, the boundary line or wall on the side of the pit. On the slow-motion replay, it looks like the front wheels were cocked just a little bit off the starting line, but it still manages to stay straight for the first 15 feet, and then it starts heading for the berm. And you can see Stolpus is trying to keep it straight as it ricochets off the berm on the side. He gets out of the throttle for a second, but at that point, he was past the finish line. The elapsed time, still extremely respectable. 2.75 seconds. That is good right now for sixth. The next machine moving up into the staging area is one of the best in the U.S.HRA Association National Event Trail, the 1984 and 1985 World Points Champion. This is Dave Ray from Plaistow, New Hampshire, with an NOS nitrous oxide injected, carbureted, gas-burning 514 cubic inch Ford wedge. This 88 Ford Ranger, called Midnight Magic, is all fiberglass. It weighs about 300 pounds more than most of the killers, but it's still a threat to win any event. One of the strongest Fords ever, and certainly the quickest and fastest full-bodied Ford truck in U.S.HRA Association racing. A great pass again. Ray on the brakes and stops before the he did not stop before the pylons. It looks like he was just a few inches over the mandatory shutdown area. You know, Shelley, the pylons have definitely created a whole new dimension to this sport of mud racing, and Dave Ray looks like he just got caught by a few inches, but the line is the line. You will be disqualified if you go past that area. Here it is on the slow-motion replay. Absolutely flawless launch. He hits the ruts, has to manhandle the machine a little bit. As a matter of fact, down track, he has a lot more work to do. Comes up out of the pit, locks up the brakes, and slides over the pylon marker by about a foot and a half. The elapsed time, 2.52 seconds. Would have been good enough for one of the top 5 spots. Great shot of this machine blasting across the finish line under power. Now we'll be able to see how much he missed the pylon margin by. Locks up the brakes, coming up and out of the pit. Here come the pylons.
Yikes.
2 feet. 2 feet too far, and David Ray is disqualified. One of the most unique body styles ever created, not only for mud racing, but I think in any type of racing outside of possibly national championship road racing. This is a Fiat X19 bodied mud racer from the little tiny town just outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania, known as Mass. This is the beautiful purple machine called Plum Crazy. I guess I didn't need to point that out, did I? Reg Baker right now with his arms up to let the starting line crew know that he is not touching any controls as they hook up the mandatory kill switch and tow cable, which, of course, Shelley, we should probably point out, shuts the engines down on these machines at the finish line.
That's just one of the safety features that the U.S. Hot Rod Association has demanded that the drivers have, along with some very, very good roll bars, roll cages inside each of the vehicles, because, after all, safety is the most important thing here.
Without a doubt. There is nothing more important than the safety of the drivers, the fans, and the officials. The U.S. Hot Rod Association has gone to great lengths, since they indeed lead the way in the sanctioning of these particular mud racing events, to ensure that this sport progresses on a safety level just as much as it has on a performance level. The Fiat X19 machine utilizing a 525 cubic inch big block Chevrolet, fuel injected, burning methanol, using a 2-speed power glide transmission. Trog's machine has broken into the 2-second zone. On occasion, he is looking for a run quicker than 280, his best. And it's not going to come this time around, just plowing through the mud. Certainly not the objective in the super modified class, where the idea is to skip across the top of the mud, not drive through it. And Reg Baker, I'm afraid, will be stuck with a 3-second elapsed time on this pass. On the slow-motion replay, let's see how long it took for the mud to sling. Yeah, it took an awfully long time. Definitely not the throttle response that Reg Baker would have wanted on this particular run. You can see the machine stays well into the mud across the finish line. The elapsed time, 3.63 seconds. Won't be good for very much at this point.
This next vehicle you might recognize by name only. He's the Mudmaster. Now, the name is the same, but the vehicle has changed. And, Brett, tell us about it.
I'll tell you, this machine is brand new. This team, Butch Groft and family with the Mudmaster machine from Mount Airy, Maryland, have switched from their Jeep funny car to another one of these 1932 Fords that have become so popular since world champion Tom Martin made them popular. Now, they just finished this thing about 5 hours before the show started. The team has not had any sleep for literally about 40 hours. This is the first time ever in the mud for the new Mudmaster, leaving the starting line with no power to speak of. And if I had to guess, I'd say the nitrous oxide system never did kick in on that run. In fact, Butch may not have used it. A lot of mud slinging up at the end of that pass, but it is not going to be enough to threaten the leaders. If we see the replay, I think we're going to see one of the laziest starting line launches we've seen so far at this event. There it is. You can see the machine heading literally nose first into the mud. Then it finally picks up. And by that time, the tires are already in the mud. And in the super modified class, you've got to stay up on top. It finally does come back up out of the mud. But unfortunately, the elapsed time, 3.02 seconds, will not put him up there with the leaders. Here's the replay a little bit sideways. The 23-year-old doing his best to manhandle the machine. It finally comes up on top of the mud past the finish line. And then it's a wall of brown out there. Well, tremendous action so far, but believe me when I tell you there is more to come. And we'll be back at Baltimore, Maryland's Baltimore Arena with more U.S. Hopping Association Championship mud racing and monster truck action in just a moment. Maryland for more U.S. Hopping